What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Nerdy Curls, and today I'm back with yet another video about humectants. So in my previous video, I talked about like what humectants are and like when they're used, why they're used, all of that. And as promised, I'm now making a video about not only what a recap as to what they are, but are all humectants the same? So I'll go ahead and get into that in just a moment, but right now let's just kind of recap what exactly a humectant is. So a humectant is a moisturizing agent that's put into a product with the specific purpose of retaining moisture. This is in a lot of skincare and a lot of hair care. Great example with skincare, anything that has hyaluronic acid. So I use a lot of things with hyaluronic acid in them because I have super dry skin, like I have combination dry skin. And in the summertime is the only time that I will get oily, and it's not even really oily. It's just like normal. That's pretty much it. But I use a lot of things with hyaluronic acid because it will go ahead and absorb into my skin. And because I've put on other moisturizing products as well, it helps to kind of like, I don't want to say plump up my skin, but it helps to make sure that that moisture's there so that my forehead doesn't look like the Sahara Desert. Another great example in skincare is Aquaphor. Aquaphor, a lot of people use that after they get tattoos, and it has glycerin in it, which is the humectant. But it also has a petroleum jelly, which acts as an emollient to be able to trap the moisture in that area. That way, like that tattoo doesn't get, dried out and start like cracking and peeling, even though it will at some point. But, like if you're putting it on like a scratch or something like that, that way that stays moist and there's a much lower rate of infection. So for hair, in terms of humectants, there's a lot of people that use humectants swear up and down that they can't use them because they've used something with glycerin. They used one thing with glycerin and they used it for a while to see if it worked for their hair, and that particular thing didn't work because the glycerin didn't work well with their hair. Now, glycerin, I personally like a lot of things with glycerin. I use like the Hawaiian Silky 14-in-1. I use S-Curl. Both have huge amounts of glycerin. But it also depends on the climate. It depends on the dew point. If you have not watched the previous video, I will link it above. That way you can actually watch where I break down what is the best dew point to use different humectants in. And also like how you're going to be using different humectants in different dew points. So for me personally, because I do live in a slightly drier climate, I live in Colorado, and so a lot of the time there's not a lot of moisture in the air. There is some, but there's not like a whole lot of moisture in the air. So in order to have humectants work in my favor, instead of using glycerin, if I do use glycerin, I have to make sure that I use an emollient to hold it down, just like how Aquaphor has that petroleum jelly. No, I don't put Vaseline on my hair, but I will put like a heavier butter on my hair. That way the moisture is staying in the strand of hair and not being robbed out of my hair by the glycerin. But again, because I live in a drier climate, it's a lot better to make my humectants work for me rather than have me work 6 times as hard. And that's where film forming humectants come in. Now, what is a film forming humectant? A film forming humectant is exactly like it sounds. It's a humectant, so it's there to draw moisture to your hair in this instance, but it also creates a film, protective film that's flexible to actually keep the moisture in there. So it kind of acts as an emollient. Now, I'm not saying use a film forming humectant and then you don't have to seal. You still probably want to seal your hair depending on where you're at, but this makes it a lot harder for the actual moisture to be robbed from your hair as long as you put moisture into it beforehand. So great examples of this. In the kinky curly, not today, there is marshmallow root and slippery elm. Both of those are film forming humectants that actually work really well to be able to retain the moisture, but then also create a film to trap it in the strand. That way it's not evaporating out, and then I don't have to worry about the humectant in turn pulling the moisture from my hair. Another great example of this, and so many people in the natural hair community use it and don't even realize it's a humectant, is flaxseed gel. Flaxseed gel is another film forming humectant. That's why you can go ahead and put it in your hair, and like, it defines your curls because it's an amazing custard, but your hair stays moisturized. That is why. Also because, I mean, it's got lots of fatty acids in it because flaxseed is super high in fatty acids, but it's something that will actually create the film to protect your hair. And then if you put an oil, just a super light jojoba oil over the top of it, or grapeseed oil over the top of it, you are golden. Like, your hair will probably stay moisturized for a while. You won't have to re-moisturize it, but also your hair's not going to get super dried out. I actually made some flaxseed gel for the first time the other night, and I put it on my hair. Normally my hair is starting to frizz up top here, and it's frizzing a little bit, but it's not nearly as bad. And with this being the film forming humectant that it is, I went ahead and sprayed my hair, put this in there after I put the Hawaiian Silky 14-in-1, which a lot of people say that that's horrible, but you have to use it with the right things. I personally am going to conduct a little bit of a experiment. I'm going to conduct an experiment and see if the Hawaiian Silky works better with the flaxseed gel, or I also got the Hawaiian Silky gel to see if it works with that. I'm in Colorado, so I'm anticipating that when I use it with the Hawaiian Silky gel, the activator gel, because that has super high amounts of glycerin and not really too many other film forming humectants to protect my hair. Pretty sure my hair is going to dry out and I'm going to have to re-moisturize it a couple of days later. Another example of a film forming humectant is aloe vera. So for those of you who use like aloe vera juice in like your leave-in, or you have whipped it together into your butters, that's why it works really well for your hair, especially if you have low porosity hair. That's why. It's a film forming humectant that is completely separate than things like glycerin and like sorbitol and stuff like that. I'm not saying that those other humectants don't have their place. They definitely do, but not all humectants are the same, and not all humectants are built for everyone's hair. So really it's just going to be a matter of what's going to work for you. Make sure you're reading labels. Make sure you can Google, and I'll leave on the screen here what different film forming humectants are, but make sure you look and do your research before you actually put it in your hair. And don't get mad if you put it in your hair when you're expecting it to stay moisturized, when that's not going to happen in your climate. So again, make sure you watch the video about dew points when I did just before this, and also take a look at the humectants that you're using to make sure that you're getting the most out of them. I really hope this video was helpful, and thank you again so much for stopping by my channel. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Peace.